special meeting of budget hearing to order. I begin with the invocation by Pastor Childs, the Progressive Missionary Baptist Church,
That was the best part of my speech, but in front of speech.
and followed by the pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Singleton. All rise.
We pray. Eternal God, our Father, which art in heaven, we come now this hour. We come before you exalted in your mighty throne. Come relying that thou art God, and beside you there is no other God. And we come thanking you for your Son Jesus, who willingly gave his life, acted as our substitute and bore our sins on the cross. And thank you, Father, for raising from the grave early Easter Sunday morning. We come today, we come to this meeting. And Father, since you're omniscient, you're all-knowing, you know what we stand in the need of. We ask that you would guide minds and hearts, and we pray that the budget will be able to take care of the various needs that we have in the city. Father, that things will be better going into the next fiscal year. Bless now, bless each and every commissioner, bless our mayor, bless our city as a whole. God, we ask all these blessings in your Son Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Clark Griffin. Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Henry. Commissioner Isom.
Present.
Commissioner Kennard. Commissioner Singleton.
Present.
Commissioner Warren. Mayor Pro Tem Seats. Mayor Mohammed.
Present.
You have a quorum.
This brings us to citizens' comments, public participation. There is a 3-minute maximum per speaker. Please sign in with the clerk.
James Childs.
James Childs, I'm 67 Broadway, and I'm a member of the cemetery board. Been on the cemetery board for over 4 or 5 years, and the reason why I joined the board was I think I was signing up for either the Dollar Ride or the Brownfield, and the former city clerk mentioned about the cemetery board that they weren't able to even meet because they didn't have a forum. So I signed up and became a member of the cemetery board. And one of the things about the cemetery board is that every meeting we're being told that there's nothing in the budget relating to the cemetery. And I find myself on the board every meeting voting $24,000, $30,000, $35,000 to go to Bert, who owns North Shore Cemetery. And you don't have to be an Einstein or get all A's in school to know that the cemetery should be able to fund some of the projects like the grass cut. Was told that the manager that was brought in by the state sold all of the equipment to Bert and got rid of all of the staff, and Bert's people are doing the grave digging and everything. So it seemed like to me that it would take care of itself. This was budgeted for to hire some individuals to dig the grave, someone to be in the office, take care and solve some of the problems that they're having. You got lawsuits and everything, burying people in other people's graves that have been paid and all of that kind of stuff. So we need some money budgeted to hire someone in that office that's not being not part of Bert's group, and that we can be able to do that. And the monies that are taken in, you can take some of that money and pay those that are cutting the grass. I'm sure now that that money is for cutting the grass is coming out of the city's budget. I don't know if those people are getting paid on time or not, but it seems like an easy fix to me. But what we're being told at every meeting, the former city manager and the present city manager are telling us the same thing, that there's nothing in the budget. And so what can we do as a board? Can't do anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Duncan.
I'll wait. I thought we have it after question. So I could ask some questions.
No more comments.
Thank you. This brings us to our budget hearing. I'd like to open up the hearing. This is the 2024 2025 budget. I yield to the interim city manager, Manager Little.
Thank you, Mayor. To Mayor and the rest of the City Commission, the budget that we presented tonight represents our best effort at going forward from where we find ourselves following the period that we've gone through the previous year, where we had at one point ARPA money that was able to help us to do some things, and others that and money that we no longer have. We now are forced to deal with the simple realities of what revenues we do have coming in, forcing us to have to start to trim back in terms of our costs in various areas. And this will be an exercise where we're doing the best we can realistically with the information that's there now. Over the course of the coming months in this year, at some point we'll probably propose to do a modification as we try to bring some of these things more into control. Because when budget is stretched to its limits, you run into problems with cash flow. So we want to go through what we have in terms of the budget here this evening. And essentially, it is close to balance, but about 40, I think it's around 43,000 over in terms of expenses over the income. But we'll resolve that. Sorry, 43,000 under.
So would that reflect black or red?
Right.
Thank you. Is that your presentation?
That basically is a presentation. I believe everybody has a copy.
Could you just deal with just cursory, the itemized budget? So if you want to,
So you can follow, start with the first page. General fund, revenue, 10,328,955. Expenditures of general fund, budget, 10,285,822. Now, beneath that, we have major streets, which is revenue anticipated 1,259,954. Expenditures 1,105,566. Local streets similarly is a smaller amount, $519,197. Expenditures 494,063. Cemetery revenue, $185,000. Expenditures anticipated, $180,750. And I'll add the comment,
Director Little, what page are you on?
very,
Okay.
but it's also on page 3. The first page there.
Is there any way we can have it on the board, like visible? We are being viewed by the World Wide Web, as well as residents in the audience, so that we can follow along. Are there any objections?
No objection.
Madam Clerk, if you would, take it to page 3.
You can enlarge it just some, Denise. Please. One more. Is that better?
Yeah.
Can we just, will one more be out of focus? Let's go. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
As we look at page 3, it basically contains the same information that was shown on the cover sheet of the resolution. I had just gotten to cemetery where I was going to make the comment that, as Pastor Childs mentioned a little earlier, essentially the revenue showing is what's anticipated to proceed, but most of that would in fact go directly back to C management. The city does in fact supplement, as Pastor Childs suggested, the additional money from the general fund that pays for cutting the grass and doing the other kinds of things. I'll just briefly mention that I did meet with the chairman of the cemetery board this afternoon to discuss a strategy for trying to get beyond this. CDBG is showing revenue of approximately $394,467. Expenses anticipated at about the same.
Could you, Mr. Manager, just talk a little bit about the decrease?
Yes. Each of the past few years, we've received a little less money each time in the CDBG program, which reflects the federal government's reduction in funding for it. Last year, our allocation was about $411,000, I believe. This year was $389,000, and the additional is money that's being carried over there that will be put on, expended also with it. The Ox Creek, Mr. Grants were showing $2,497,000 of revenue and expense. Permanent public improvements, $266,488 in revenue, $232,420 expenditures.
Mr. Little, could you just, I think you maybe skipped over the pension.
I did.
It's after Ox Creek.
And revenue projections of $85,331, expenses $81,000.
And just for clarity, I know we received some funding from the state to help address some of the pension concerns as far as the percentages and the health of it. Could you just briefly?
That $6 million that we received from the state went to help fund the deficiency that we had. We were down quite quite a bit, and we're still down, but that helped to bring it up a little bit.
What percentage would you say in terms of, because I know certain cities, if they were at 30% or at a certain percent, that they received that funding from the state. Are we at 60 now, 40?
I believe that we're at now about 60.
About
It
60%.
was around 30.
Okay. Yeah, just if you could just add little footnotes, just for
Sure.
public consumption, where people
Right.
can understand, the budget beyond just black and white, or,
Certainly.
what these itemized allocations, what they mean.
Certainly. Next is permanent public improvements, revenue of $266,488, expense $232,420, and that is a part of our regular tax receipts that's specifically dedicated to public improvements. It will be used to do some of the things like we're looking at for the parking lot, where we got a grant to do part of it, and part of it we've got to come up with and so forth. Next, utility operations, $4,210,506. Projected revenue, expenses, $5,635,923, which is a deficiency of approximately $1,425,417. And we all know that we do have a problem there in terms of the overhead and other costs associated with the water operation. And we're continuing to work our way, trying to get through that. So revenue is still projected to be less than what the expenses will be in the coming year. We will be undertaking, as a part of that TMF effort, to continue to look for ways to reduce the expenditure side while we try to bring up the expense side. And that's what that whole process at Eagle and TMF effort is about.
First Ward Commissioner Henderson has the floor.
Yeah, I just had a question about that. So that includes the employees as well, that's included the utility operations, so that's collections, employees associated with the water distribution piece, so whether that's water plant employees, collection office, and all of that, that is the total expense. So the total revenue side, and then the expense side, that negative $1 million.
Yes.
So in order to rectify that, you're saying reducing some of the staffing related to the water.
We're looking at all the costs that are associated with the operation and trying to make reductions where we can, including even some renegotiation of the existing contract with F&B. But they're quite clear that we must bring down costs and increase revenues. And we're on a path now to beginning to do that, especially with the increase in collections and so on. But we also have that letter that I have to get to them by July 15th, which will spell out the direction we're taking.
So the decrease that you're making right now is that $1 million to make up.
Yes. Utility projects, $33,093,274. Expense, $33,093,274. And that's mostly grant money. It's all grant money that's being going through our process. Total, $52,840,172, and expenses $54,285,000. again, reflects the significant, amount of $1,000,004 that is associated with the water operation. We'll flip over to, were there any questions regarding that page that anyone has? All right, if you'll flip over to the next page, okay. It deals with property taxes. Essentially, it shows what the actual amount of property tax receipts were as of 6/30/2023, which was $1,941,804. Year-to-date balance as of February 29 of 24, $953,447. An original budget of $2,307,164, and a proposed budget for the coming year of $2,039,500. And just going down the line, we show income taxes, cover the 6/30/23, $2,110,862. Year-to-date balance as of 2/29/24, $940,434. An original budget of $2.1 million, and a proposed budget for the coming year of $2,075,000.
So we actually collected more income tax, property tax.
Yes, sir.
I didn't hear you.
Yes, sir. That's what it's showing.
Now, could you explain just, a New York Minute Cliff Note
Well, essentially, the
or footnote?
property taxes, as of 2023 was $1,941,000. Income taxes was $2,110,862. In that instance, you'll note that it's a couple of $100,000 more in income taxes than property taxes. And as we go into the budget for the coming period, it's a closer amount, $2,039,000 projected and budgeted for property taxes, compared to $2,075,000 for income taxes. Still more on income tax and property tax, but the gap is closer.
So the property taxes, that's the residential, commercial, business,
That's correct.
and then the income tax would be what?
That's basically the money being collected on the incomes of persons who live and or work in the city of Benton Harbor.
And what about businesses?
Them too, they're included.
Thank you.
Uh,
Chair recognizes Commissioner Singleton and then Commissioner Henderson.
Out of that, for the income tax, that 2 million, that's after refund. Is that actual money that's in that fund, or is that, do we have to refund some of it back?
I'm sure this figure would be after the refunds, because we wouldn't show it in the budget if there's still, monies have to come out of it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson?
I know you asked about the other page, if we had any questions on the revenue side.
Yes,
And I did have a question about charges for services and equipment rental. Which are, equipment rental was $365,000 a year. And then charges for services is $1 million. I know you guys probably looked at what those expenses are. Is there any way to decrease some of those expenses?
Nominal. The equipment rental. Let's go ahead.
Okay. The equipment rental that is actually revenue, and it's money that moves, that the top part of this schedule is all money coming in. And the equipment rental is related to the major and local street fund cannot own their own equipment, so they have to pay the general fund for using equipment. So that's a function of how much plowing's done. The charge for services, that is also an income item. So it's money coming into the city over the course of the year.
My last question is about the public safety department. Are they the largest user of funding? And it seems like that cost is continuing to increase. How is that going to be addressed?
Public safety is one of the largest general fund users. Public safety and also public works. And those are areas that we're going to have to try and concentrate on, looking for ways to try and maintain a level of service, but keep costs under control.
One other item related to the, there is an increase in costs for the public safety department, but there also is some revenue related to some grants, like close to 400,000 for fire grants. So you'll see a plus up in the revenue, and their expenses look like they're going up, but they're actually funded. Same thing with FDCIT money. We got 120-some thousand for the parking lot downstairs. That shows up in your budget, but money comes in to cover it. So some of the money, especially the increase you see, is basically money that's coming into the city to cover it.
Please proceed.
All right. So overall, as you see the listing of the various revenues, we specifically show some grants in section, title grants in the proposed budget, 676,409. Licenses and permits, revenues, 664,000. Payments in lieu of taxes, pilots, 465,000. Charge for services, 1,044,500. Franchise fees, 6,700. Equipment rental, 72,000. Rental income, 78,000. Other revenues, 17,000. Transfers in 70. Total revenues, transfers in 85. Total revenues, 10,328,955. Now, the bottom half is the expenditure side, and as she mentioned, some of those expenditures are offset by some of the revenues on the top side. City manager's office is budgeted for the 24-25 year, 208,482. Mayor commissioners is 67,361. Income tax administration at 186,770. City assessor 111,607. City clerk at 196,110. Human resources 99,066. Finance department 313,498. Elections 46,417. Public safety department, $3,590,282. Department of Public Works, $353,777. Trash collection, $736,268. Community and economic development, $155,236. Employee share of retirement, $26,005. Skip over parks and recreation, $84,275. Employee share of retirement, $26,500. General administration, $3,213,058. Aid to other governments, $104,000. And debt service, $255,456. For a total of $10,285,822. Compared to revenue of $10,328,955, and as a result of 43,133 positive.
Chair recognizes Fourth Ward Commissioner Clark Griffin.
Okay, I had my hand up, cause, the revenue, going back to the revenue, can you explain what that transfer in is? The 100,000, then it ends up the proposed 85,000?
Which item again was that?
It was on revenues at the bottom where it said transfers in.
Rhonda, you speak
Yeah.
first.
It's a transfer in from another fund. The pension fund receives tax money for property taxes, and that's for the pension. But the general fund pays for the pension. So we transfer in money from that pension fund into the general fund to pay a very small portion, but it pays part of the retirement.
Okay. Another thing I had, it said city manager, and it had 181,882. Then it goes to original budget, 191,923. Proposed $208,482. So is that a raise? And it said, because I heard the interim acting city manager said that we gonna be cutting back because we need, they should lose money. So is this a raise that I'm looking at for city manager?
I believe what it's going to represent is part of the balance of what's owed to pay the outgoing city manager plus the mine.
So this is a raise increase.
I don't see it as a raise. It's
What-
in,
Okay, thank you. I ain't finished now, but that's the, okay, raise. Then operating expenses, it said transferred in. Yeah, that's on line two. It said transferred in, it was, $1,012,566. Okay, so explain that to me, the transfer, because I remember doing us doing an 800,000 for the opera fund, but what is this $1 million transfer? Then it said something about payment or utility debt, on the side.
I'm not sure where,
I don't know. Could you specify?
Commissioner. Next page, because see, I got this one.
Point of order.
We just got this today, so.
Take your time.
We'll go back to it, but I go to my next question. Operating expenditures, transfer of $101,000, then it goes to $145,000.
again, Commissioner, where is that?
Page 5.
And you guys give us this today, and then I have what we sent. iPad.
You said page 5, what?
5 on the actual major street. The transfers on the major street is a transfer into the local street fund that is allowed by the Michigan Transportation Fund. We have more local roads than you do major, but you get more money from the state for major streets, so we have to transfer money into the local fund to help pay for your local roads. So there's a certain amount we're allowed to transfer fund to fund, and that's where they show up.
Okay, so city assessor. It said $199,222.
For the city assessor,
Well, this is from the notes, I think, from the, I can pay it. No.
we come back to, Commissioner Clark Worthman.
Okay, I have another question too. We'll come back because I got some more questions, but we'll come back. Now, if I looked right on the iPad, it was nothing under, fixing street. Did I see nothing budgeted under, for street, fixing the street? Okay, so you don't have to answer that. Do we have anything budgeted for fixing the street? Okay.
Sure, we do, local streets.
Local streets.
There'll be local streets, plus there are some streets that are gonna be improved with some of the money that the state is giving you in ARPA funds. There is no budgeted income tax project for streets yet,
Okay, I know, right, that's
but
what I
that had, that was not budgeted because we didn't know how much or what was getting done by the other projects.
Okay, so we're not budgeting for fixing street, but we were just waiting on whatever the state sent us.
Right, because some of the roads will be fixed with some of the projects that are going on.
I'll go back to my notes. Next person.
Chair recognizes Third Ward Commissioner Henry.
Yeah. And I don't want to keep going backwards, but you didn't give me a chance to ask this question before. Page 2, under other expense assumption, Commissioner Communication Expense Budget. Can you give me an understanding of that? Because I'm the chair of communication and I've asked for way more than $4,000 to do what we need to do for communication.
That's actually the result of the discussion that we had last night about the program that the city clerk mentioned that we could get that would enable people to go on the website and indicate whether they wanted to receive information by email or by text message. We recall we said about 4,000 and we said we should look into that. We just put it in the budget.
It's that easy, huh? And I want communication to have money to have a newsletter. If you can pull out 1 day notice what we asking for, and then I can ask for money for the newsletter for 2 years, and now you give me a slap in the face with a $4,000 mass texting. I'm appalled, and I'm glad you explained it to me because it really makes it really a cold slap in the face. But I'm gonna accept it. You give me 4,000 and I need 43, I'm gonna accept the 4,000. And I'm still looking for the solution to the communication problem. Okay. let me see if I can focus myself in on something else other than that, because it's really driving me nuts. The, disregarded, disregard, whatever it is, I'm feeling it. I'm the chair. I'll release this and come back to regroup myself on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Finance Chair and Commissioner at Large Ice.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. I just want to ask a question about the Finance Department. Is this anticipation of this money, of hiring a finance director, is this $313,490, is that with a new finance director, or this just anticipation of, I know it's budgeted for a finance director. That's one question. Oh, go ahead.
This is to continue the present situation until such time as a finance director were hired. And we projected if that was to take place, it probably would not be done before 1st of September. And we're also looking at hiring an accounting technician that can come in and start to doing some of that work and helping with the transition.
The code compliance department, I see we allocated more to that for this budget. Are we hiring more people, or is it just?
That mostly reflects what's actually taking place right now. You may recall that in recent months, they entered into a contract with Ty Herder to perform certain functions there, and we still have Laura Bennett as zoning administrator carrying those duties out.
Okay. And just one more, Department of Public Works.
Also an electrical contractor that is doing electrical inspections, is bringing in some considerable revenue. What we're doing is looking for any areas that we can improve the revenues, and of course, it sometimes requires some additional costs to get started to doing it. But throughout the year, we're going to be looking to do that. Increase revenues where we can, decrease costs where we can.
So out of that 313,000, what would be allocated if we hired a proposed finance director?
$75,000.
And what about this accountant? What would that position be?
It's showing 4 months for her to stay, and I don't think we didn't put a figure in for the other position yet.
I asked why.
Wanted to touch base with everybody and be sure that everybody was on board with doing that first. And we'll be able to adjust it as we go along.
So would that person be in consideration to be employed in the event that we hire a finance director?
I would even recommend that we do it before, so that we've got a transition taking place and more of the routine work that he can learn working along with Ron.
Or she?
Or she. Then that will relieve a lot of the cost that is incurred with Ron doing some of the lesser functions.
Would that be like, so that would still be included within that number? is my point.
Right.
Yes.
Costs for my services should go down, bringing somebody else in to take over some of that, especially the clerical functions that perform, because there's just more staff. So it should just either be
Balance
me or
out.
that, it should balance out.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Isom.
Yes, just a question on the public works. See, we allocated, just a little bit more. Now with that 43,133, that's be left over, that's what you anticipate being left over. It's impossible, we can bump public works up. We're gonna add 2 employees, 1 full, 1 part time. Nope.
Let's say we can't do it right now, but as we go through this process of making the changes and things that we're going to have to make, then we may later be able to do that.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Mayor. Under operating trash collection, can you explain that to me? It's page 4.
Trash collection, 537,659. Basically, I'm sure that that's mostly associated with disposal, is it not?
Landfill?
That is when-
So did you say half of that was landfill? Ooh. Okay, thank you. Then the next one in that area is Parks and Recs, 84,275. Can you explain that to me?
Basically, that would be, I'm sure, the cost of the person that we have coordinating parks and rec activity. And in addition to it, probably certain other costs associated with monitoring the parking out at the Jane Clark Park. So
That's kind of great to me for 87,000, 84,000 parks. Can you break that down for me a little bit more as to what that amount is going to be used for? I hear you saying someone that's working in the park. Is that the park rangers? Is it someone that's working in the concession? What is that person's job to do?
we budgeted 4 people that would be used to get a couple students or someone to help drive the vehicle, to help monitor, to make sure that people are paying their parking and so forth as they should be. In addition, we've got some maintenance and other kinds of costs of that nature that are included in that.
So that's just for 4 park rangers to monitor the Gene Clark Park?
That's basically what it is, yes.
You're gonna get 4 individuals to monitor Gene Clark Park.
Basically, driving the vehicle around to ensure that people have,
Yeah, well, that's the only place that we have the kiosk. So that's the only place that they can monitor parking in Gene Clark Park. So you're saying that we need 4 students to do that?
the only place would also, well, that's, basically that's true, yes.
Oh, okay.
Is this part of the summer
Yes.
program?
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
And it'll be, you said it'll be students?
We're trying to hire college students who are old enough that would drive the vehicle that has the cameras up on top to do the process of tearing.
Have we, and I'm with the communications czar, Commissioner Henry, have we communicated like to residents as far as them being able to pick up their passes? Because I know in the past, that was, when they would come pay their water bill, they could get their, I think it was 2 per household, where that they're residents in the city and they don't have to pay that parking cost.
I know that they still don't have to pay the parking cost. Somehow, Tamiko gets their license plates entered into the system so that when the vehicle goes by, it doesn't pick up that.
So do they have to go and submit and give them the license plate?
No, the car driving by, the camera picks up all the license plates. And if it picks up one that's been indicated as being a
453.
resident, then they don't take it.
Union then, if they don't take the
They
ticket.
don't take the ticket.
So we've improved our system.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Chair recognizes Commissioner Clark Griffin.
Just to piggyback on what Commissioner Henry said, we hired 4 people for Clean Clock Park. Just that, we college and, or even somewhere, if we cutting costs, why would we be hiring 4 people? Isn't that what code compliance does?
No. We're hiring 4 people because by doing that and doing it religiously, we increase the revenues significantly out there.
Okay, so who's doing it now? It's
And
not
in
code
7
compliant.
days. Right now, we have one of the public safety people that's working and driving it, and we have one of those positions is filled. We're still trying to fill some of the others.
Okay, isn't public safety code compliant? They work in the
It's
same
not all
part,
code
I
compliance,
know, but they part of code compliant, public safety.
but they're not doing anything to do with the parking. There's a different part of public safety that's doing, addressing the assistance with checking the parking out there.
And then I think earlier you were saying that, we might have to cut back on some employees in the water department. But I know in the last 3 weeks, we've hired about 5 people, mostly working in the area where you're working. I see, and then the increase in city manager pay, I see saying increase this, cut back this. Are we cutting back, or are we increasing, or are we cutting back so some people can get increases?
We're making all the adjustments that are necessary in order to accomplish purposes that city administration is there for, to try and provide the services at the best level that we can, and to try to rebalance the situation that we have overall. We don't have a lot of the money we had previously, and we're doing what we can with what we have.
And then also go back to the trash. Cause I seen it was separated, trash collecting. And I know that's trash, sewer, all that's together, but on here it's separated and it looks like it's an increase. So are we increasing the trash for people and we gonna be separating it from the sewer and water?
Help me to understand.
Page 4, trash collection. It's written by itself. I know it's trash, sewer, and water is all together, but on here it's
Are
down
you,
by itself and it's an increase.
are you referring to the 537,659?
That's the only one on page 4 that say trash collection.
That's right.
Okay, yeah.
And what is your question again about it?
My question is, I see it's a proposed increase in it. Also, it's separated, and I know we pay water, sewer, and trash together.
Yes.
So are we, because we haven't voted to separate it, and it's on here to separate, also, is that gonna increase? I see an increase. Do that mean people gonna pay more for their trash?
This has nothing to do with anything except what we have to pay.
Okay. That's what I wanna know. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henry.
I wanna go back to them 4 students and the $84,000. I would like some of that $84,000 to go to communication. I've heard you say that I have not asked for amended budget. I see we got the amended budget for 23, 24. That's like putting the cart before the horse, but we're gonna do this now, and I'm asking now to amend this budget where we don't need 4 students. Gene Clark Park is open for a certain amount of hours, 7 days a week. And I've been to Gene Clark Park and I've not seen that truck but maybe twice, maybe 3 times.
That's what we're trying to improve upon.
Okay, wait a
So that
minute.
it's out there.
But that person doesn't have to do anything but ride around Gene Clark Park all day long because he has no other parking facilities to man. And if they don't do their job, as I've wanted to look at it and tell them, here is someone parking in our Gene Clark Park with no sticker on their golf court car. But there's nobody there to ticket them.
That's what he's trying to address.
But 4 people at 84,000,
Mr. Little, is that CDBG dollars?
That's general fund money that's generated in part by, the parking fees.
So you're saying out of Gene Clark Park revenue, this 84,000 it will pay for itself? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, it'll pay for itself.
And these are seasonal workers?
Essentially, that's the case, yes.
When you say essentially that's the case, what do you mean
Basically,
by
what I'm
that?
saying is that that's when we do the parking enforcement. That's when the park is full of people parking, and that's when we need the enforcement action going on.
So 2 will be on foot, 2 in the car? What would that look like?
Because you're covering 7 days and you're having people like from 7 in the morning until it closes, you get different people working different hours on different
Okay, I
days,
got you.
and that's why it takes that.
Thank you.
With that, particular item, I got a chance to meet the young lady driving a blue truck. And they don't just cover, what I found out, they don't just cover Gene Clark. They drive through every part.
Right.
And so they do a loop, because I've experienced the same thing. I was out there and I didn't see the truck. And so I got an opportunity to see the young woman that's working. In fact, I think it's Charlie Jones's daughter is working out there, Pastor Jones. And they do a loop around every park. So they
All
go
of the parks.
all of the parks and they come back around, which is why you don't see them just sitting out there. But they do a loop through every park as well.
And that's a part of what I've asked the police department to do, to help with the enforcement of people pulling into these parks and parking on the grass and whatnot. I'm very fearful that children playing in the grass and whatnot, people are pulling across there, sooner or later, we're gonna have a catastrophe.
Yeah, because I rode past Union, I thought it was about to turn into Red Bud Trails,
And it ain't changed.
dirt bike, but I'm gonna move on. Commissioner Warren.
Has there been any forecasting on the revenue based on having the 4 people? Because I mean, I'm sure they're gonna be writing more tickets and getting people in line. So has there been any type of forecasting of what that would look like to offset that? Because maybe that would help solve the issue.
Not specifically, but we already know from previous years' activity and what was collected versus what we've been collecting, the rate at which it's going. The more we have people out there doing that, the more revenue we receive. But let me also remind you that there's another piece to this that we're working on, and that is getting those parking rates up. Because recall, I mentioned to you one Saturday here a few weeks back, we wrote 87 tickets. And it's because the day pass was gonna cost $10, a ticket cost $5.
Just bad mathematics.
We told them that from the beginning.
Yeah, kind of like they used to say going out the world backwards, but we're working on these things.
So you trying to, basically, you just trying to write some things to
Absolutely,
not fleece, but just enforce,
absolutely. And-
which possibly will increase revenue just by enforcing what's on the books.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Henry.
I just got to know about these 4 students. They write tickets. They call the police and ask and tell them. 'Cause what can they do at Union Park when they've been parking on there for years? What can these 4 students do? Do they give tickets? I need to know what these students are doing riding around Union Park. If that's their job, what do they do when they ride around Union Park and they see people parking?
What they do when you ride around there, and that camera picks up the license plate of the people parked in the park, it writes a ticket that goes to these people. And in some instances where the other kind of violations or problems, the student can speak to the people about it. They don't get any response. They call the police, and the police come out and take care of it. But we do the same thing at Jean Clark Park, where we've got signs that says dogs are not allowed. In fact, we had the other week, lady come walking across here with a dog and stopped and talked to her, and she acted like she was insulted that he should ask. They called them an officer to come out and talk to her. We're going to start enforcing our laws and our regulations and have people respect them here, just like they do everywhere else.
Okay, well, if you deem that 4 students is required, I require them to be Benton Harbor residents coming home from school, and that they get the jobs and not anyone else. It's our money, and I don't know what's going on with you taking contracts and signing. It's just blowing my hair back that this kind of process is going on. So if you think, and I judge that you got a good thought on these students, I just like to see them be Benton Harbor residents. I don't want to see anybody else out there. I'm looking at the fire department and what's happening with the fire department. They got, and you're saying that inspection don't have nothing to do with police and fire, but they do. They're running consecutive.
They're part of the same department, but they got different duties.
I know they got different duties, but they're ran by the same person. So that means it's all under one person. That means it's all under one department, the police department and the fire department. So I'm just saying to honorable commissioners, if you really want to do this, focus on Benton Harbor residents. For years, Benton Harbor residents have come back to the city with a degree and not gotten a job. I don't want that to happen anymore.
I would want to know, is it hourly rate? Is it, what's the hourly rate?
It's an hourly rate.
What is the hourly rate?
Yeah, it's $15 an hour. And the whole 84 is not people costs. There are costs for services and things that utilities at the parks that get paid for out of that. So the 84 is not all people costs.
Right, that's what I was saying from the offset, as far as some type of little footnote or some type of little commentary, as opposed to just looking at a number where we have some context of what we're looking at. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm happy. I love to see young people come home from college and can get an opportunity to get employability skills, work with the city. Hopefully these are the people that's going to be replacing you, replacing me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I do agree with Commissioner Henry, that I think we should try and, of course, you have to follow the fair hiring practices and et cetera. However,
certainly agree to as much as we can. I say it is.
There's one more question on this page. Can you explain to me, break down general administration under operating? This is one of them, Miss Rhonda, the slush fund that I tell you about. That's one of the- I might be using the
A
wrong
point
word.
of order, Commissioner, there's no slush fund in
I might be using the wrong word,
the
but
city budget.
there's a fund there.
That runs a whole nother kind of conversation.
General administration.
Yes, ma'am.
It's contains a lot of costs that are citywide but are not specific to any department. For instance, $1.4 million is for your defined benefit pension costs. So rather than spread it amongst the departments, we capture it all in this one department because it's a legacy cost that the city has to pay for. Professional services are $700,000 of that budget. And it's for things like general engineering, small amount, but we also book the cemetery lawn mowing there because it's a task that has been decided citywide. It would be done by the city, so we don't charge a department for that. Computer, legal costs, those are all contained in that 700,000. Then there's another $1 million, and it is made up of legal claims. In judgments, so that's about 200,000, another 375,000 are insurance payments to pay for professional liability insurance, your property, your vehicles. That's a real hefty bill the city pays. Utilities are also charged in this department, so it's capturing a lot of costs that we don't allocate to the departments because they can't control them.
Did we get some clarity with that
I
explanation?
got clarity, I think.
Please, if you should talk a little closer to the microphone. We want to make sure that everybody hears.
Loud and clear.
I want to recognize Commissioner Warren.
How do we capture employee benefits like healthcare? Is that also in general or is that in the department level?
The healthcare is at the department level, so it follows the employee in whatever healthcare plan you choose and what the city's portion, that is a fringe benefit that does go in the department. This $1.4 million for pension it's what I call a legacy cost. It's for pensioners that the city is paying right now that are part of the pension plan. It doesn't have anything to do with or it has some, but the majority of it's for past and the high cost of the pension because you're so underfunded.
So when people are looking at this budget, for example, they look at the city manager or whatever they look at, that is not strictly to be salary, it would also include all those fringe benefits. So that's
Right,
important
it's gonna
for people to understand that piece as well.
Right, it's gonna include that, it's gonna include the social security and Medicare that the city pays. The healthcare is a large cost as well, workers' comp, unemployment insurance, those are all following the people in the departments they work in.
Just for clarity, that additional that you see, which could look like an increase for the city manager position as it has been so publicly stated that there was a agreement between the previous city manager that includes some of that cost. It was in the paper again, it was 6 months, which 2 of the months exceeded the fiscal budget. So some of it rolled over. So that's what you see in terms of more in that department. Chair recognizes Commissioner Cochran.
Okay, I don't remember that, but, I mean, the mayor answered the question, but you guys couldn't. Don't you do the budget? Okay. Not really. Okay, I want the $84,000 broke down. You said that it's not just people, it's just not for people. Can you break it down? That's why I asked last year that stuff be itemized. Can you break it down and tell me what exactly that it is for?
It was $15 an hour
I
for
can,
4 people.
Ms. Rhonda from finance, can you tell me what it's for? Because you said it's not just for people, so can you did, whoever did the budget too, and you finance, can you tell me exactly what it all is for?
Behind every summary, there is a detailed budget for each department. And on page 27 is the detailed breakdown of parks by line item on how we keep track of the expenses in the department. So there's
right here.
27. 41,000 were salaries and wages. 3,159 were fringe benefits.
No, we talking about the 4 people they're gonna hire, and Commissioner Henry said is that they're gonna get the whole 84,000. You said it's not just for people.
That's what she's
So,
reading.
Look on page 27, and there's
Madam
detail.
Clerk, could you
She's talking about
go to
breakdown.
27, please?
I'm talking about the part he's talking about for the 4 people.
The 84,000 is made up of $41,184, which is salary and wages. The 3,151 is fringe benefits, FICA and Medicare. 8,000 is operating supplies. 15,000 is professional services. 500 for communications. 1,440 for utilities. 10,000 repairs and maintenance. 5,000 for bank and credit card fees, totaling 16,940. And the sum of all of that comes to the $84,275.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Henderson, and we will conclude the public hearing.
I was gonna say, Ms. Rhonda, you talked about the trash. Did you say there was an increase with the landfill, is why that cost went up?
And another thing, if I could mention, the revenue for the trash also falls in the general fund. So it's, even though it's on your utility bill, that revenue gets transferred into the general fund and is part of the charge for services amount. So it's, plus and the minus are both sitting in the general fund.
I know, city manager, I know you once talked about a transfer station and that kind of stuff to help decrease the cost of the trash. That would help decrease that landfill cost, because you'd be able to separate and stuff like that. Is that still something that is being worked on?
It is being worked on, yes. That's the discussions today.
Just as a side note, in the state budget, the governor's administration is working toward increasing state share revenue. So that's something that's being worked right now, but we're expecting an increase for municipalities. So that's good news. I would just say that, I work as the chair of the Black Mayors of Michigan, hearing some of the other municipalities from Ypsi to Inkster, Ecorse, Flint, Saginaw. This is a masterpiece of work. It's, I know that we have gone through a lot, right? But for us to be at 43,133, where we are, just above, water, but not drowning,
Right.
is commendable. Because I've, like I said, I've seen and heard other where it's, people are running a red light big time. So, Mr. Little and Rhonda and your team, from the mayor and hopefully council at large, we appreciate the hard work and we look forward to implementing and executing this budget with you for the 2024-2025 year. So I'm gonna close the public hearing. And this brings us to the consent calendar items. Is there a motion for the approval of the consent calendar?
So move.
Motion is made by Commissioner Singleton. Is there support? It is supported by Commissioner Henderson. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
No.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
No,
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
one question, Chair.
Mo-
Have we looked at the amendment, or did we approve both of them at the same time? We
Everything
have
was
not
approved.
touched the amendment to the budget for 2023 at all since.
The
last
consent
year.
calendar was approved.
So we approved them all together without even looking at them,
It's approved.
without even looking at them.
Is there a
We
motion
approved.
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is made by Commissioner Isom. Is there support?
Support.
It is supported by Commissioner Singleton. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Clark Griffin,
Yes.
Commissioner Henderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Isom,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Good job.